Alright class, so today I'm going to be talking about, in this video I'm going to talk about the product of the powers property, which is what I've highlighted here. I'm only going to be talking about this section. There will be videos on the other different properties. So for the first one, it's the easiest one out of all of them. When you're multiplying two terms and they have the same base, what you're going to be doing is you're going to add your exponents. So notice how in the rule, they both have a as the base. So that means that you're going to take that base, and then as for the exponents, you're going to add the exponent m and n to get your answer. So that's where those numbers are coming from. So I'm going to look at a couple of examples here for you. So for the first one, I am multiplying x to the third power times x to the sixth power. Now, if I were to teach you, if you were to do this the long version, you would be expanding this problem. So let me show you what I mean by that. So x to the third power, my base is x, my exponent is 3. What that's telling me is that I have to copy and paste my x 3 times. So it's going to be x times x times x. Okay, it's kind of like 3 to the third power. It's 3 times 3 times 3. X to the third power is x times x times x. Now for my next one, I have x to the sixth power. My base is x, so that means I'm going to be copying and pasting x 6 times. Okay, so I'm doing that in a different color so I can show you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so if I were to combine all of these numbers, or all these x's, my base would still be x, but I'm going to count all the x's I have. That's 9. So this is really x to the 9th power. This is the long version of solving these problems. You're just expanding all of this. So I want you to learn and use the new rule that that we're talking about in this section. So you can do it that way, or the shortcut would be, take a look at the rule. We have the same base. You're just going to copy down the base. So in this case, the base is x. And the rule has you adding the exponents. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to use a blue color so you guys can see. I'm going to take 3 plus 6. And all you gotta do is simplify even more. So x to the 9th power. Notice how you get the exact same number term as you did if you were to do the long version. But this is not the best method, because you might see numbers like 20 here and 32, and it's just like unrealistic for you to copy and paste x 3 times, or 32 times, or 24 times, however many it is. So I would use this rule whenever you see these types of problems. Okay, so that's a very simple problem. Now you get into one of these type of problems where you have coefficients, numbers that stand in front of the variable. In this case, what I'm going to do is I'll show you the expanded version, and then I want you to look at the shorter version using the rule. So in this case, if I have 6x to the third power, I have 6 times x times x times x. Okay, so I've expanded that. Technically, I can break 6 into the prime numbers, and we're going to talk about that later, but I'm just going to keep it as 6 right now. And then I'm going to go ahead and break up the 3x to the 7th power. So again, I'm going to multiply because there's a multiplication symbol in between these two terms. And now I'm going to write 7 x's. It's going to look a little weird. I don't have enough room, but hope you get the idea. So here we go. Now I'm going to go ahead and find my new coefficient, the number that's going to stand in front of the variable. So in this case, 6 times 3. I know that that's going to be 18. Then if I count all my x's, I should have 10 x's. So really x times x times x, and all the way, if I say that 10 times, really that's x to the 10th power. So really my answer is 18 times x to the 10th power. But again, this is the long version. Using the shorter version, I'm going to go ahead and show you that now. 6 and the 3, the coefficients of that, it's still the same process. You're going to take those two numbers and you're going to multiply them, because you're multiplying these. Okay, so I'm going to take 6 times 3 is 18. That's where that's coming from. And then my base, because the exponents are attached to only the x's. The bases are not 6x or 3x. The bases are only x for each of these terms. So I'm going to go ahead and take my 3 and 7 and add them together. I'll take 3 plus 7. Hopefully you guys have already seen that. My answer is the exact same as what I did with the longer version. Okay, so x times, 18x to the 10th power. I do want to let you know of something not to do, so don't. So this is what you don't want to do. When going back to the first problem, when you see two x's, some people might think, oh, I'm going to write 2x to the, 9th power. Well, if you look, we already know that the correct answer is x to the 9th power. But I hope that you guys don't add these two together, because really the symbol that we're doing is multiplication. We are multiplying these two terms. So when you multiply, you're not going to be adding these x's together. What you're going to be only adding is the exponent. So that's a very big, very common mistake that some algebra students do. So don't do this, okay? Now, I'm going to give you a couple more examples. These are not on your notes, but they are in this video, just so if you need the extra practice. I want you to look at, let's see here, my number. I'm multiplying these two terms, and I'm going to condense them to one term. So what I'm going to do is, okay, so we know that the -3 and the -2, they are going to go together. It's kind of like combining like terms. So you're going to do -3 times 2. That's going to give me -6. Now, for the exponents, x to the 7th power is x to the 7th power, and x to the 2nd is already explicitly written for you, but the y's are not. So I want you to remember that any variable that's standing alone, technically, there is an exponent of 1. Okay? Based on my rule here, I don't want x to the 7th power and x to the 2nd floating around. I want to combine them. So remember, if terms have the same base, so the x and the x have the same base, all you have to do is add your exponents. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to take x, which is my base, and I'm going to take 7 plus 2, and I'm going to simplify that in a second. But I'm going to go ahead and do my last term, which is y. I have two y's there, so I'm really going to be adding 1 plus 1, which is the exponents. And if I simplify, my final answer is -6x to the 9th power times y to the 2nd. Okay? Now, these two problems are the exact same thing. Don't get confused with parentheses. So really, if you see parentheses and there's no exponents on the outside, it really looks like this. 2x to the 3rd power times 10x y. Exact same thing. So don't get confused with the parentheses, okay? In this case, I'm going to go ahead and underline my coefficients. I'm going to multiply 2 times 10. So I'm going to write down before I simplify so that you can see it in a different way. 2 times 10. Any exponent that's standing alone really is x to the 1st power and y to the 1st power. Okay? So then, now what I'm going to do is take my pink marker so I can show you that. I have x to the 3rd and x to the 1st, so I'm going to go ahead and combine those. So x to the 3rd power plus 1. And we're lucky enough to have y standing by itself. So y really is just y below. There's no adding going on, it's just y to the 1st power. So let's go ahead and simplify now. 2 times 10 is 20. X So that 3 plus 1 power is 4, and y is standing alone. Okay? So that is more examples on that. Hopefully this video helps, and let me know if you have any questions.